You're listening to the ACT podcast. You better like my daddy's show, you creeps.
All right, from yet another undisclosed location. I mean, it's a long running gag at this point, right? Where's the show gonna be next? Somehow we got roped into house sitting for people that I don't know at all. I don't know them, period, really. I met them twice for about 5 minutes apiece. So this is kind of awkward for me. I've been told by my fiance that I'm being weird and nervous for no reason, but I don't know these people, and so here I am recording a podcast in the middle of their beautiful kitchen. I'm not being facetious. It's a beautiful kitchen. Lots of lovely woodwork and things like that. I don't know if you guys can see. There's a little bit of a delay on my camera, but this is the first time I've ever done it in front of an audience. The show. There's a. I feel like I'm in the middle of the Evil Dead, where the deer is going to come to life over here. I think he's right there. If you guys can see him. Hopefully he'll start laughing at me or something, and then kill me. But yeah, it's interesting. I'm like whispering, even though it's literally just me and Jolene and a giant dog. And when I say giant, I mean this fucking thing is. Jolene, what's the dog breed called again? A cane corso. So if you don't know what that is, look it up. Apparently, it was a dog of the Romans. It's an Italiano dog, an Italian dog. But this fucking thing is like the size of a pony. It's got a very big head. Looks like a little bit like Quasimodo from Disney's The Hunchback. To me, I don't know if that would insult the people who own the dog or not, but that's what it looks like to me. Looks like Quasimodo. It's got gallons of drool leaking out of its face, and it's scared of me. And so if you hear it barking at me at some point because I've made any sudden movements, that's what that is. This show, I'm telling you, people, this show might be the best thing on the internet. If you want to see a man's life slowly fall apart before your eyes, I mean, this is it. You're gonna see me go insane and lose my mind. As a personal update right now, we're still in the midst of sunny Yuma, Arizona. We have moved up and left from Flagstaff on our eventual pilgrimage to Tennessee, hopefully. We're supposed to be here for about 2 months. I've been looking for a job. Yuma is a desert city very near to the Mexico border. You've probably heard of it in news reports and things like that because this is where the border wall is and all that shit. Just for geographical location reasons. That's why I'm explaining all this. But it's a small border town. It is technically bigger than Flagstaff. We're more populated, I guess. But it's man, what a bitch to find a job. What a bitch. I cannot find a job to save my life right now. Every place that me and Jolene are applying, we get a message back fairly quickly that even though the job's up and you can apply for it and it says they're hiring, that says, oh, we're not actually hiring. And I don't understand that. I don't get what the point of that is. Now, I talked to my cousin the other day, and he informed me that his work is also doing that right now. They want to give the appearance that they are hiring for optics, right? They want to make it look like they're hiring, but they don't actually want to hire anybody. And I assume that's what we're getting right now, because I was told specifically not to ever imply on Indeed or to apply on Indeed or ZipRecruiter because that's what I was doing. And so now I've moved into applying on the actual company's website where it says that they have jobs available and things like that. And we're still getting well, we're not actually hiring. We're just accepting applications. And that's pretty frustrating. If you're a company and you want it to look like you're hiring for, I don't even know why you would do that for the optics. The optics of what? Because you don't want the city breathing down your neck for not hiring enough people, or is it maybe there's some regulations or something like that that you're trying to look good for? I don't think there's a monetary incentive behind it, and that's just very bizarre and weird to me. So it's been, I've been trying to get a job and things like that. It's just, I've been waiting for life to kind of cool down. And I guess in some ways it has, right? I've been trying to get my bearings and what's that saying? There's that saying, be where your feet are. I'm trying to do that. I got to say, the older I get, the less adaptable I seem to be getting. And I don't like that. So I'm going to try and be better about being more adaptable, I suppose. But the job thing is a huge frustration right now. I've been doing a lot of I do wood burning art or whatever. So I've been making a lot of that, trying to sell that on Marketplace or whatever. And if you would like any of it, if you happen to listen, I can do custom pieces. I also have pre-made pieces that I've made and that I'm putting up for sale. Yeah, they're a little pricey, and they've always been a little pricey. Even when I had a good job, they are custom made. They take hours upon hours to make. I generally create the design myself. I do it with graphic art. I do graphic artwork, and then I transfer that to the wood, and then I hand burn it, and it takes a lot of time, especially with some of the pieces are more detailed and whatever. Those ones are generally going to cost a lot, and I do them on a pretty decent sized piece of wood. And this is all the wood that I use is high quality wood. It's all high quality basswood. It's not like composite wood or something like that that's cheap, trashy shit. You know, it's all basswood, and it's thick and it's durable, and so yeah, I sell it at a higher price. I got the last guy that I sold it to tried to rip me off. Actually, it was 5.5 inches wide by 11 inches long, so it was a skinny rectangle piece of venom, and I wanted to sell it for $70. I wanted to sell it for 75. I thought, and honestly, that was probably kind of low for the amount of effort that went into it. But I was like, whatever. I had to make some money, so we put it up on Facebook, and the douchebag, was jerking us around for several days, and that's no skin off my nose. You want to jerk around about it, fine, so be it. But he was getting weirder and weirder, and then he finally did show up, and when he did, he handed me $30 and tried to leave, and I was like, what? And he had it wrapped up. It was a 20 and 2.5, so it was wrapped up, all tight so it looked like a wad of cash. And I opened it right away as he was trying to get into his car to leave, and it was $30. And I'm like, what the hell, dude? And it was just due to all the interactions that my fiance had with him online and stuff like that. He just didn't think it was worth $75. And eventually he said, well, I'll pay 70. So I said, fine, whatever. If $5 makes you feel good, 70. I'll sell it to you for 70. But because these I guess the people on like Facebook Marketplace are they're like garage sell shoppers, and so they're like cheap and weird and want to lowball you on everything. And I there's something about that. Like, I get being frugal or trying to find a good deal or whatever, but there's also something is like, paying an honest amount for it. Like, these people, man, like I used to work at Goodwill, so like I would see these people come in and they would complain about paying $5 for a Xbox. And like, what's broken? It's like, well, yeah, you're shopping at Goodwill, dude. It's still an Xbox. Like, I could buy that and go turn it around and sell it for more somewhere else, and like GameStop, even, who is notorious for lowballing you. There's something insulting about being lowballed. And we all feel it. We all know it. So I don't know why we all go around and continuously try and lowball people. It goes beyond trying to take advantage of a situation or someone just being generous with you or whatever. Like it's a weird move. And a lot of these people on Facebook Marketplace are just super weird that way. They want to immediately come in and they know something's worth whatever. It could be a brand new car that's worth $40,000, and they're gonna be like, "I'll give you $20 for it," and it's like, okay, why on God's green earth would I give it to you for that price? That's crazy. So he didn't think my piece was worth $70. He gave me 30. I immediately turned around. I said, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" I said, "Dude," I said, "you shortchanged me $40." And he's like, "Oh, did I? Oops, didn't mean to." And I'm like, "Yeah, fucker, give me my money." What are you doing? Like, don't play dumb with me about it. Don't act like you don't know the difference between $70 and $30. I mean, I know we live in a time where there's a bunch of kids roaming the streets now that learn Common Core math, but like, come on. That's a little ridiculous. So, we got that taken care of. He magically found the extra $40 and was like, "Oh, is that correct?" And then the son of a bitch had the goal to try and take the 2 5s back. Like, "Here, I'm giving you 2 20s. Give me 2 5s back." Like there was some change that needed to be brokered back to him, and I was like, "No, that's still included in the original cost." Give me that, you stupid. Drive away now. Bye. But I think the thing that insults me about it, right, is that, and listen, I'm not proclaiming to be Picasso or something or Jackson Pollock, but, people will pay thousands of dollars for a print of artwork, for a print on a piece of high quality paper. Thousands of dollars. I'm giving you the original. This is the original. It's one of a kind, handmade. That's all yours, bro. And I'm giving it to you for under $100. Go fuck yourself, right? Like, that's ridiculous. Like I said, I was talking to my cousin the other day. He was having issues with a guy who was trying to sell the newest Xbox. He doesn't want it anymore. And he was like, I know it's worth this much. It's barely used. It's in good condition. I offered it for like $300. I think they're like $500 new. So that's $200 off. And the guy was trying to finagle it out of him for like $150. And that's just, if you need to finagle that much to lowball people and insult them, it's just insulting. Then don't be buying that stuff. And if you think that you're going to get away with just ripping somebody off, who knows what they paid for it? Like, my cousin knew what he paid for the Xbox. He knew what it was worth. Everybody and their mother knows what it's worth. Why does the buyer think he's retarded and he's just going to be like, "Yeah, whatever. I know I invested $500 on this machine. I'll give it to you for $150. Like, what? The $300 I thought was too generous anyway. But he said, "I'm going to sell it low because I want to get rid of it, and I think somebody will buy it pretty quick." He was right, but, he had to deal with all the morons in the process. So right now, I guess that's my life. I've become like a traveling gypsy. Yeah, so I'm a traveling gypsy who has to go around selling his bullshit to people who apparently think it's bullshit and not worth what it's worth. But it's an exciting life. But I have been trying to be positive and upbeat about it, and I think that gets misconstrued, when I make jokes like that, I have a very dry, sarcastic way about me sometimes that I think people think is deadly serious, and I like to play it off like it's deadly serious, but it's not always, right? I think that's in the context clues, which I know is that's beyond people too. Context clues are beyond people, which is another interesting thing that me and my cousin were talking about recently. We really just should have done a podcast. It would have been way better than whatever the fuck this is. But we were talking about new movies and stuff like that coming out, and we had kind of an interesting conversation about it. Maybe we will do a podcast about this, but he said he was really excited to see Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. And I said, I'm excited to watch it too, but I have my worries about it, and not the worries that everybody else has about it. I don't really care about who they got to play who and whatever, right? Like, whatever. I think there's some weird political stuff going on with the casting in that movie for sure. It's kind of hard not to think that, but that's not going to stop me from watching the movie. I think it's weird that in the attempt to have diversity, that they erased the entire race of people that the movie would have in it naturally, which is the Greeks. That's strange. I don't I get that you want some black people in your movie, but maybe if you're doing the Odyssey, you would want like one Greek person, one. But no Greek for you. But anyway, so that's weird, and that's not. I know a lot of people. There's an online discourse about this, right? And it's really upsetting people. That's not my issue with the movie. My bigger issue with the movie is that I think in the trailer, Tom Holland's character was like, "My dad's coming home," and I was like, See, I didn't like that, right? I thought that was a very simpleton way to talk. That sounded way too modern for one of the earliest stories ever told. Me and my cousin were having the discourse. He said, "I don't really care about that. Like, whatever, who cares how they talk or whatever." And I said, "Well, I care because you want to have accuracy, right? If you're making a movie, you are building a world. You want there's a word, I think it's veramist. Well, what, I can't fucking think of it. You know what? Jordan, look up the word veramist.
A few moments later.
Veromistitude.
A few moments later.
Verisimilitude.
Okay, now that I found it, I wanted to make sure I was saying it right. I was saying that if you want to create a movie, you have to create how do you say it again? I can't ever get the word out properly. Verisimilitude. Verisimilitude. I'm going to cut in the part where I put it up against the microphone. Verisimilitude. So as I've been trying to say, you want to create a movie that has verisimilitude in it. And the best example of something like that is like the Lord of the Rings trilogy versus the Hobbit trilogy, right? The Lord of the Rings feels verisimilitude is like it feels like a lived-in, cozy, real world, even though it's completely fictional and fake, and orcs don't exist, and flying griffins and all that kind of shit. They're not real. There's no wizards and hobbits and all that, but because they took so much time and effort into making the world of the movie Middle Earth a real tangible thing, using practical effects, using real sets, putting the extra time and attention into how they speak, and making sure that they get the made up language proper. All that stuff are the small little details and whatnot to make the world feel real and lived in and cozy. And it doesn't matter that you're watching a 5-hour movie like Return of the King or whatever. You're comfortable there, and you'll watch it for however long it'll go on. I don't know if anybody else has had this problem though, but like there's almost a sadness when the movie does end. Right? It's like, oh man, now I'm back in this world, right? And that's something that The Hobbit struggled with. The Hobbit was more schlocky and corporate feeling, and more green screen and more rushed and lots of filler and bullshit to make the movie expanded, and it just felt wonky and weird. And there's really a reason why those two trilogies don't stand up as one or together. It's like the Lord of the Rings trilogy is way up here and the Hobbit's way down here, even though they had all the same people on it and put a lot of time, money, and effort into it. It doesn't feel as well because they started taking shortcuts. And that's my issue with the Odyssey, is that it seems like they could be potentially taking some shortcuts. And I really like Christopher Nolan as a director, and I think it's very important to try and make things feel lived in. Also, here on a side programming note, if you notice that the lights are out and it looks a little different in front of the camera, is a little different. One of the fun things about podcasting is that while you are recording, sometimes one's phone camera suddenly becomes too filled with storage because they record long videos of themselves talking and droning on and on, and it'll stop recording. And so that's fun. So if you notice some weird cuts and stuff like that, that's what's going on. Anyway, getting back to what I was trying to say though about the Odyssey, and the fact that I don't really care about all the other stuff that everybody else is kind of going on about. I like my world to feel lived in and real, and I think that language and speech and things like that are a bigger issue than who's playing who or whatever, right? Like that can be an issue too, right? If you're telling a story about like a kid in the ghetto or whatever, whose father's in prison or whatever, and a white guy's playing him, outside of Eminem, it just doesn't seem like that might be the most believable situation. So, no, I'm just kidding. But no, I'm in all seriousness though. The language is what is the issue for me. I'm worried that with the Odyssey that he's gonna try and dumb it down. This is a big, massive undertaking of a story, right? It's one of the foundational cornerstone pieces of literature or poem, whatever you want to call it. I mean, it's both, but of our civilization. And so I'm worried that he's going to try and modernize it too much to where it's kind of stupid. When I hear Tom Holland saying what he said in the trailer, that does worry me. And I was kind of hoping for this big, sweeping epic that is almost like a Robert Eggers movie. If anybody knows who Robert Eggers is, he created like The Witch, The Lighthouse, and Nosferatu. The thing about that guy is that he is meticulous with getting the dialogue as close to that period as he can, or as true to that period's dialect as he can, and sometimes it's kind of hard to follow and understand, right? Like I don't understand everything that they're saying in The Witch, and I don't think a lot of people do, and that kind of turned a lot of people off to it. But because it's set in the old times of like the first settlers of New England or whatever, it's a very thick old English dialect, and it's hard for people to follow along with what exactly they're even saying. Even though they are speaking English, you recognize the words, but how they're putting them together, it's like gobbledygook for a lot of people. And while that can be an issue for some people, I think it's better because it almost feels like you're being transported back into time and you're a fly on the wall getting to watch these people interact with each other. And if I went back into the 1700s or whatever, I'm probably not going to understand them at all, not the way that they do. And if they came to our time, they would have no clue what we're saying. I mean, I walk around the mall and hear people talking, and I don't understand what they're saying, and I live in this period. The thing about it, though, with it being a movie is that the authenticity is what pulls you into it, and that's a big thing that I think can be overlooked because it's kind of seen as like, well, who cares as long as it's telling the story. But like, if you ever go back and read like a children's book, like a Thomas the Tank Engine book as an adult, it suffers because it's too stupid for you. It's talking in a very simple way, and it's not interesting as an adult. Like, even though it might be a good story about overcoming your fear and doing something you never thought you could do, that might be the theme of the movie or the book. But if you're like 30 years old and you're reading it and you're like, this is kind of dull because it's not speaking to me on a very intellectual level. And it's talking down to me, quite frankly, right? And I'm more worried about that. I'm worried that the movie's going to be doing that. And I think a lot of movies are doing that, where they're kind of dumbing things down. I've watched a few movies recently, and the writing is so bad in them because they really think the audience is stupid. Like, they really can't follow along. And I understand why filmmakers are doing that, right? Because we live in a very distracted society. But if I am Christopher Nolan and I'm taking on the Odyssey, I want to make this thing as big, sweeping, and epic and as realistic and authentic as I can make it. And he's the guy who's like Mr. Attention to Detail, Mr. Oriented on everything, being meticulous. So I'm worried that he might be kind of, taking his eyes off the prize a little bit. And like I said, my cousin doesn't think that's a big deal as long as they get the themes right. Well, I mean, I guess. But if it's like so dumbed down and they get the themes right, it might not be very satisfying to me. It might not, because I'm an adult. If it's like geared at a 14-year-old versus an adult, then it's probably just not going to be that interesting. And I think that we're in a real issue. We have that issue right now with our culture. That people just don't seem to care about the little things anymore, or they're kind of okay being fed slop as long as it's just kind of comfort food to them. And I'm not in that mode. I think we really need to like start taking care of these things and finding that craftsmanship and finding that ability to kind of pull people up versus pushing products down, if that makes sense. I think it's wildly important, and not just for this, movies or music or whatever, kind of everything. Quality is suffering, and we're all just kind of accepting it for whatever reason. And again, I don't know if the Odyssey will do that. I really have this hope that they're going to do what a lot of movies do, where they, in order to market it for mass appeal, they will dumb it down, put fake lines in, erase things entirely, shoot scenes that aren't even in the movie specifically to market. That's been going on forever. I think of Die Hard 4. In Die Hard 4, there was a trailer, and he says, "Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker," in the trailer. I mean, they cut him off from saying the F word, but that scene in the trailer is just not in the movie at all. It's a completely different, when he finally says his tagline in the movie, it's a completely different scene. And the reason they did that was because they were trying to play on your nostalgia and be like, hey, look at Bruce Willis is back as John McClane, and he's going to say his line. And that's how we're going to sell the movie. He's going to say his catchphrase. but they shot a completely different scene because they didn't want to, like, excuse the phrase, they didn't want to blow their load in the trailer, so they shot a fake version for the trailer. And then when we got into the theater, it was a really cool, fun. I think it's the best Yippee-Ki-Yay in all the Die Hard movies, but it was a really great one and completely surprised me. I got to go in and see it, and I was just completely taken in by it, and it was a complete surprise, and that was great. Another more recent example is like Spider-Man No Way Home. Everybody remembers when that trailer came out, there's like 5 villains coming in and one Spider-Man. You're like, oh my God, he's going to take on 5 guys. Well, in the real movie, right, it was 5 guys and 3 Spider-Men. And they had just erased the other 2 because they didn't want to blow their load. That was a surprise for when you actually sat down and saw it. And I'm hoping that, they're going to do the same thing with the Odyssey. Maybe they just didn't want it to sound too heavy for the trailer because they want to sell a bunch of tickets. So they're like, just shoot a scene where Tom says, like, I need my father to come home, and have Matt Damon scream, let's go, guys. I just hope it's more authentic than that. Like, I hope it's not too Americanized and too modernized, because I think that kind of stuff will really make the movie suffer. And I think people doing that kind of stuff has made a lot of things suffer. And I'm maybe I am being nitpicky or overly passionate about it, but I don't believe that everything needs to be a 4-quadrant film. If you're not familiar with that, 4-quadrant means there's like a 4-quadrant graph that the studios try and hit, right? And they want the circle to hit all 4 quadrants so that it appeals to everyone. And that's the worst thing to do. Like, don't make it appeal to everyone. Even though I know you want it, I mean, it's kind of going to appeal to everybody anyway, because they're making it's a Christopher Nolan movie. It's the Odyssey. It's all shot in IMAX. Good chance it's going to appeal to everybody. Like Oppenheimer, that was not a 4-quadrant movie, but somehow because of Barbie, it became this freaking massive success, and people who had no interest, who didn't even know who Oppenheimer was, were going to watch this guy's biopic and probably learning something new in the process. Okay, that was like lightning in a bottle, completely by happenstance did that happen. So just make the movie good, and if it's good, I think more people will come. You'll kind of get into that 4-quadrant area. Like, don't intentionally dumb it down just to make it more appealing to everybody. Like, don't do that. Movies like Five Nights at Freddy's are not meant to appeal to me. And it's not interesting to me. But there's a whole segment of the audience that's so into that and love that. And it's not ever going to appeal to me in the way that it does to those people. And while I think it's hot garbage, people like my kids love those movies. Like, those are the best things for them, right? And it's kind of boy-coded. It's not really coded for young ladies the same way that it is for young men. The same way Barbie's kind of girl-coded. If we stop trying to appeal to everybody or dumbing things down so that it gets more butts in the seats, that's just not good, right? And that's why I'm being kind of nitpicky about it, and that's why I think it's a big deal. Anyway, this is like it's so late, and I've had to redo this, and flustered and tired and uncomfortable, and there's like no back on the seat, and I'm in no man's land all by myself, and it's just what a nightmare. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being patient. I know the channel's been thin on content lately. I'm trying to push things out and do other stuff. I'm trying to get a job and sell this wood and whatever, but sell my wood. I've become a gigolo. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I appreciate everybody's patience and whatnot. I've just been in a weird spot in a weird place. And the other thing too is, like, I have not been socializing with anyone whatsoever. And that's tough on me. And I'm listen, I know these podcasts are kind of one-dimensional and whatever, and me just rambling into a camera and whatever, and I appreciate if you like it or if you watch it. I'm not happy with the product, and I'm actively trying to think of ways to make it more interesting or do different types of videos and whatnot. And I just want to say, hopefully after this tough time in my life, I'll be able to kind of get more focused and back on this and really try and make something special out of this. I'm looking for collaborators, honestly. I like I said, I'm not working with anyone. I don't talk to anybody, and so and I'm a creative guy. Like I gotta get shit out, and I gotta talk with people that even if we're all just full of shit, like sometimes it's just good to get that out and just kind of, bounce things off of each other and whatnot. So if you want to collaborate or you got any ideas or you're interested in talking, hit me up, let me know. Maybe we can set something up. It's so hard to get anybody on this podcast, especially now because I just don't really talk to anyone. Nobody's around me anymore. And I got people like my loyal listener, Yasix. Please go follow her YouTube. It's Yasix Says, I believe, and or Yasix Says, and like even if you want to collaborate or something, please get in touch with me. Let's try and figure something out. Even if it's just having a conversation that we can put on our channels, I would love to do something like that. Anybody else, that's an open invitation. Let's figure something out. I want to try and make this less one-dimensional and more full and fulfilling and interesting for me and for everybody else. And again, I appreciate everyone's patience on waiting for me to put stuff out. But in the meantime, I got to go. Thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, follow me on YouTube, Instagram, X. I don't really do much on X anymore. It's a cesspit. Cesspool, not cesspit. Cesspool. Anyway, see, you can tell it's like I'm fucking exhausted. And it's hotter than hell. Anyway, thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. This is The Act.